The GMMP Global Media Monitoring Project began in 1995, and it takes place every 5 years since then. So the 2025 iteration is the 7th GMMP report. It has become the largest and longest running research and advocacy initiative on women's representation in the news media. It is striking this year because it's happening when we are reflecting on the Beijing Platform for Action from 1995 and how far or how little we've come in terms of gender equality. The GMMP was created to make sure that the representation of the public representation of women help to advance the public discourse, help to realize those issues of gender equality. And it's become a widely regarded marker ever since for every 5 years, so the 7th report. But I think, as we will see, the news media landscape has changed dramatically since 1995, and that then also has huge impacts on the way that the results show progress or lack of progress. The initial results of the 2025 GMMP were released on September 4th in an event with UN Women. The full report will be released on December 9th. So this is, in fact, an advanced release and discussion on the European results. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And now the floor is yours. Abida, you will give us a presentation and then after your presentation, we will have enough time to go into a further discussion with you and also among the audience. So the floor is yours, and thank you for presenting us with the European perspective and European results of the GMMP 2025.
Thank you so much, Ralph and Sarah, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone, and greetings from Bosnia and Herzegovina. So as informed already by Sarah and Peter, I prepared a brief presentation for you and selected some of the findings of the GMMP 2025 that would tell us if and how far the advancement achieved by women in education, political participation, and economy, among other fields, have been reflected in news media. So I will start sharing my presentation with you, and please feel free to interrupt me should you need any additional clarification. 25 countries from Europe participated in this GMMP 2025 out of 44 total countries. Here you can see the breakdown of major news topics by region, by media. You can see that only 2% of topics, actually, of stories cover gender-based violence and in traditional media, and 3% in online media. And at least I can say that this is a very low count, and this is really contradictory to the serious nature of all forms of gender-based violence and even femicide affecting 1 in 3 women and girls worldwide. The most topics covered were, as usual, politics and government, and then social and legal affairs, and economy. Overall presence of women in the news is very low, is 27% in traditional media and 31% in internet news, which is, and we know that women makes more than a half of population, so this is still like a very, very low presentation and presence of women in news. As you can see, the news, the mostly news featuring women this year were news on gender-based violence, and again, celebrity arts and media, with even 55% of all news that featured women. And as you can see, the women as as sources in news, women makes like 27% in print news, 22% of sources in radio, 30% of sources in TV news, and 31% of online news. Here you can see the list of all positions and occupations of news sources. And you can see here that actually women are overrepresented as a homemaker, as parents. And this is given as a last resort if no other occupation was given. So most women are still portrayed as housewives, etc. And then it still indicates this persistent bias of journalists towards defining women by their domestic roles. And despite we have unprecedented engagement of women in work outside the home. And this underrepresentation in occupation and in position of power for women has unfortunately remained consistent. And yet, as you can see, 48% of not stated occupation were actually reserved for women. Here we have new subjects function in news story by sex. Here you can see that we have 49% of women giving their popular opinion, and personal experience 45%. And this function, persons providing testimonies based on popular opinion and their personal experience, this still assigns those ordinary roles to women that require no specialized knowledge. So we can say that still women are not considered as experts or commentators or subjects in news. On this slide, we can see news subjects who are portrayed as victims by sex. So you can see that approximately 27% of all news subjects actually identify them only as survivors, not as victims. But on those other diagrams, you can see that, for example, women are portrayed as victims of non-domestic sexual violence with 16%, and then victims of other non-domestic crime with domestic crime, robbery, street assault, etc., with 17%. So women are, as you can see, mostly portrayed as victims of other crimes, and they become still the top victim categories. On this slide, you see the news subjects that were quoted by sex, and you can see that 55% of women were quoted, and 50% of all male news sources were quoted. This could be due to the fact that the functional most female subjects in GMMP 2025 in news stories were actually persons providing testimony based on popular opinion and personal experience. And we know that most of those people who provide those testimony or personal experience are actually quoted in news. And here we have the percentage of news subjects photographed by sex. So we can see that women have been photographed more often than men, like an 8-point difference. However, our qualitative analysis in Bosnia and Herzegovina and probably in other European countries continues to show patterns of sexualized portrayal of women. On this slide, you can see stories reported by sex on major topics by region, by medium. And here you can see that in sports, male reporters are still dominant rather than female. But the percentage of female versus male reporters in other news is pretty much similar. And here we have stories with women as central focus by a major topic. So we have overall presence of women with 13% in print, 9% in radio news, and 7% in TV news. And mostly women are mostly featured in news on gender-based violence with 69%. In print and in radio 75%, in television 77%. This is really high figure. And then again, we have like significant presence of women in news on celebrity, arts, and media, as you can see in these figures. And then sports with 22%, whereas women featured in politics and government, economy, science and health have very, very low percentage. Here we have stories where issues of gender equality and are raised by region and by medium, by major topics. And here on this slide, you can see that stories where stereotypes are challenged are really, really extremely low, approximately 5%. The highest percentage of those stories is in the area of politics and governments and topics around economy, and with only 1% with gender-based violence. And we can see that the gender stereotypes are very prevalent in stories about economy and politics, and both spheres where men are the majority power holders. And here we have a special question. As you can see, that special question was not so many, how to say, identified in the news that were monitored across Europe. I can say that unfortunately in our news in Bosnia and Herzegovina, I think we found 1 to 2 stories maximum that covered one out of our 3 special questions, which is really, how to say, disappointing for us, because obviously special issues that are of concern for grassroots organizations working with women and for women are actually not shared by journalists. We can say that actually there are still some already established patterns, and that women reporters are more likely to feature women as subjects than their male counterparts. And unfortunately, we can say also that media are a mirror of society, and society's perception of women's worth or lack of it are reflected in media. And I can also say that here, at least in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but I would say also in the Western Balkan countries, media still tend to report on women in a very sensational way. Last Sunday, we had another femicide here in my hometown, and many media actually reported on this, the most radical case of form of gender-based violence in a very sensational way. So there were the reporting on where she went to have her hair cut, where was her gym, what did she do. So they actually failed again and again to tackle the issue of gender-based violence, to tackle the issue of femicide, and missed the opportunity actually to raise awareness of their media audience about catastrophic consequences of gender-based violence, and especially femicide on our society. So that would be my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And of course, I remain at your disposal should you have any additional question.